Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Barone. In this show, I will introduce you to ideas, concepts, and mindsets that will open your mind to a new world of well-being and personal life growth. Through eye-opening interviews, we elevate people in the world doing amazing things for humanity and share insights that will shift you to become the happiest, healthiest, kindest, and most compassionate version of you. Hello everyone, welcome back to Things You Can't Unhear. I hope you're enjoying the first half of January. I can't believe we're halfway through the first month of the year already. Hope it's been a positive, light-filled one for you. I myself am checking off all the things that I've hoped to achieve in this first month. So hopefully you're doing the same and getting through those resolutions and manifestations and intentions you set at the start of the year. Now, in this episode, we are going to be introduced to the resort hopping yogi, Alana Tilly. She's an Australian who is now based in Fiji and spends her time traveling around the island, teaching people from all walks of life the art of yoga. She shares with us how she brings the benefits of yoga into her everyday life and even into her parenting to create self-awareness and consciousness, where she's strong on raising her family not to conform to society's expectations. Alana also shares her journey on starting life in a new country, the catalyst it took her to get here, and the difficulties over the last 12 months as an expat, being away from family and now no longer having the freedom to visit them back home. This is a warm listen which allows us time to reflect about our own purpose and life meaning. Hi, Alana.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today. Alana is a yoga teacher and facilitator here in Fiji, and she launched her business Karma Yoga in 2014. So I've moved to Fiji for a period of time, as many of you know, and I'm trying to find my well-being tribe. And one of the first things I did was go and attend a yoga class, and I met you there. So it was an amazing grounding experience, and with many yoga teachers that I've met in the past, there's always a story and a background to how yoga came a part of their lives. So we've chatted privately and we've had good conversations in the lead up to this, and I really was thrilled to invite you here today and have a deeper conversation about your journey and how yoga came into your life and where your mindset is at now as a result of, bringing this practice into your life at such a deep level. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, how long ago, when was your first yoga class, and was it part of your life from a very young age?
I do have memories of a yoga class that I attended when I was in university, and I was, even though I'm the same person, I guess I was quite different in my 20s. I guess it must have been 19 or 20, and they had free yoga sessions at the gym at the university, and I went along, and it was this lovely Indian lady, kind of middle-aged, a little bit plumpish, and really had this warm, kind of lovely personality. And she sat there and we had to sit still, and we did alternate nostril breathing. And I was in my, I guess, late teens, early 20s. And I was full of restless energy. And I was like, why are we doing this nostril breathing? Like, I can't sit still. This is, I want to get up and do something else now. And I thought, okay, well, that was my one experience of yoga. And I didn't really kind of think too much more about it after that, and I was more into contact sports. I'd done martial arts and rode motorbikes and played rugby and more of a tomboy. And then in my later 20s, my friend said, I'm going to yoga, and it was actually Bikram yoga. So I said, sure, I'll go with it. And the first session, like most people, if any of you have experienced that particular type of hot yoga, it's very overwhelming and in your face and not for the faint-hearted. And I was like, why would anyone do this voluntarily?
I have thought that before, don't worry.
But, they had the 10-day pass, and so I thought, well, I'll go every day. And, I went every day, and after that I was on a roll, and it was just, I think everybody finds yoga at different parts or different times of their lives for different reasons, and also there's many different disciplines or ways that we can practice yoga. So for me at that time, when I was restless, full of energy, and needed some way to focus. That the heat was good, the intensity was good, and it was beneficial. That really started my pathway into yoga. I didn't realize all the other benefits of yoga yet, but I was hooked on the asana, the physical practice of it, and little did I know all the other beautiful benefits of yoga were starting to come into my practice as time passed.
Tell us about those benefits, because I'm one of those people who has tried to bring yoga into their lives on so many different times. It's just, I really want to be a yogi. I really want to bring this into my life. And then you go, and I'm like that. Well, it's like exhausting, and why would people want to do this over and over? And now I'm finally getting into that momentum with it and seeing the benefits. But I'd love to hear what the benefits were for you.
For the benefits, for me at that time, I was working a medical sales job. So it was, in my late 20s. It's kind of that time in your life and your career where you can tackle, high pressure jobs and channel lots of time into it. I wasn't married, I didn't have kids. So I guess I was pushing myself, and that can cause imbalances. So, and I didn't have a lot of time as well because I was working long hours. So I found that style of yoga was beneficial because I could go early in the morning before work. It was a great physical practice. It was very grounding. I felt calm for the rest of the day. And I also had a few injuries as well from playing contact sports, and I could feel stronger and more stable with those injuries after practicing. So those were the initial benefits of practicing. And then over time, I just tended to find, I was able to uncover other aspects of my health. So I found out that I was gluten intolerant. So I found out things about my diet. I guess for anybody who practices yoga, it allows you to reflect more on different aspects of your life, whether it be your personal life or your health. You tune in more to how you feel physically, emotionally, mentally. So it gave me the time and space to identify a few things that if I was rushing around, busy doing things, that I probably wouldn't have picked up, or it might have taken me longer.
That awareness, that internal awareness that's going on.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that was the beginning of two of the really important aspects now that I still think are so important for me and for a lot of the people around me are self-reflection and self-awareness.
Yeah. That's been actually my big word that I've chosen for this year for myself is awareness. That's my aim for the year. I want to be clued into what's intuitively happening around me, not only for myself but for the collective. So I'm loving that word this year. So I'm glad you brought it up. So now yoga is your life. You teach, you facilitate all around Fiji. You're probably the most prominent yoga teacher here. You resort hop teaching yoga. Like, what an amazing career that you forged for yourself here. Tell us about the pathway for that to happen.
Well, it was purely accidental. It wasn't intentional at all. I practiced yoga in Australia a lot. I was practicing Bikram sometimes 6 days a week. I definitely became a full addict, and it was a big part of my life and a big part of tuning into my health and my well-being. And when I came to Fiji, I actually came here for work, which was a sales and marketing role at one of the resorts. And I was busy working and doing that, but there wasn't any other yoga teachers teaching regular sessions anywhere in Mandy at that time. So I had a few friends that said, can you hold a class for us? And I'd never really taught yoga before. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just practice and you can just join in and we'll just practice together. I'm not a teacher. So I started kind of leading these classes, and then with a bit more practice, then I thought, okay, well, maybe I should go and learn how to be a yoga teacher.
For real.
Yeah, so then shortly after I did teacher training, and that was the beginning of a hobby that became a passion, that became work for me as well, that I really enjoy.
Did you do the teacher training here in Fiji?
No, I did it in Australia.
Amazing. So you've never looked back. You've had a beautiful career so far.
Thank you. When I came to Fiji, I was separated from my ex-husband because I was married in Australia. So I guess I just took the leap of faith, and I wasn't sure how it was going to end up. But I definitely never envisaged being here 8 years later, and I'm now a Fiji citizen, and and have my life and my children and my husband and family here and work.
Amazing. I want to jump into that leap of faith that you just talked about. I mean, a lot of people who are at home and listening to this in Australia or in other countries and thinking about a move and listening to you and your story, there's obviously some type of catalyst, and I've got my own, and obviously you would have had your own.
Well, I've always had a connection with Fiji. My mother's a FBI, Fiji-born Indian, so I do have, I guess, ties here to Fiji through family, even though my mother, it was actually my grandfather who migrated to Australia in the late 60s. So my mother grew up in Australia, but we've been coming back. And she joined Rotary, so as members, and I did as well, so as members of Rotary International, coming back doing volunteer work here every year. So that was a really nice connection that I started to have with Fiji. And I'd been married for a couple of years in Australia, and my ex-husband and I had a couple of businesses together, and it was very full on with work. I don't think I'd had a day off in about 2 or 3 years, as most self-employed people were familiar with. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it wasn't a happy or a healthy marriage. It was turbulent, and it was abusive and controlling as well. So physical abuse, financial abuse, and verbal and emotional as well. So it was actually timely as well that I'd started practicing yoga just before I met him as well, and in some ways I think that was a sign of how that was going to tie into my life and the direction that it took. So when things started to get difficult, I guess, and I tried to leave a few different times, and I'd been coming to Fiji every year on the project, and I hadn't gone when we were married, obviously because of the issues with the relationship, and I finally found the strength to say, no, I'm going to go join my family, my parents, and come and do the project. And I came over here, and that was the catalyst, I guess, that I needed. And I thought, what am I doing with my life? I can't continue in this relationship that isn't okay for either of us. So that was the time away that I needed to make that decision to separate. And then because of, I guess, the fear that I felt with leaving and the danger involved with that situation, I more or less ran away to Fiji, and I just felt safer here. While I could kind of recover from that, I could have space, and I just came here for a break first, and then I met the father of my oldest daughter, and then thought more about staying longer. And so, yes, came here like a lot of people came here for a bit of a holiday or for a short reason.
Life sabbatical?
Yes, that's it, life sabbatical. So, yeah, it was a really, apart from, obviously I have my family ties here as well, but that was a really important, I guess, pivotal point that changed the direction of my life, and was a really important decision that I made.
And it's just sent you on a whole new trajectory, which I'm sure you didn't expect.
Yes, well, I like, for people who know me, I seem to always like challenges. I don't take the easy route. I like to make things difficult for myself. So, if I tackle things, it's always going to be challenging. So I guess when I separated, it would have been easier to stay there or return back to, to be closer to my parents or things like that, to try and recover and recuperate. But no, I thought I'd come to Fiji and try being here. And it's a really lovely place. I find a lot of people are drawn to Fiji when they're going through transitions in their life at any age or for whatever reasons. It's a lovely place that has a great energy for people to take time and space to think about the choices and the decisions that they're making and whether they're happy or not.
It's such a good point. Everything's a lot slower here, and that's the biggest advice that we got from a lot of people when we were moving over, is that you need to learn to adjust to the pace that people are
Yes.
at here, because if you don't, it will start to drive you crazy.
Yes.
And my husband and I and my family, we're city grown people, so we're used to things happening quickly, and you know, as soon as you want something, you can arrange it, and it's all very quick, and it has a process and a system. And here it's very much the opposite. Like, you want something, you need to wait 5 weeks, or you need to order it in, or you need to, you know, and even the postal system, it's, you know, so there's that stepping back, that island time, which is not a bad thing for all of us. I think it's really great for us to just be like, okay, let's just get things when we need them. It will come to us in time. It's almost like a forced surrendering in a way.
Yes.
That we're made to do. And I love that you've sort of picked that up in a lot of people that you've met here who come to just have that transitional time in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that's also where a lot of my motivation, I guess, came for teaching yoga here, was that, I mean, everybody practices yoga for different reasons, and people who teach as well also teach for different reasons. But one of the reasons why I love teaching, and why, even though there's many opportunities to teach with many different demographics in Fiji, but one of the reasons why I did teach in tourism is because I really enjoyed that bridge between people who had hectic lives and were living in the city, because that's the life I used to have as well. I used to live in Brisbane and live in the middle of the city and, you know, have a corporate life, and then moving here was such a contrast. And it's really about finding that balance, and that's a struggle for so many people these days, is to try and find that balance between having the career that we want and having the life that we want, or providing for our families, but also having the time to spend with our families, looking after our health, our well-being, and really importantly, our mental and emotional state as well. So, and our life is a constant state of change. It's never the same. So I think a lot of people, when they come here on holidays, they're in that state of openness, and they're like, I'm on holidays, I'll try something new. I'll go to a yoga class for the first time. I've never been. And they might not have the time or space to do that normally if they have a busy life. So I really love that opportunity to have the time to share yoga with people when they're here, and also for the people that live here as well, that attend the sessions regularly. A lot of them have, for the people that live in Fiji as well, there's still people that own businesses, that have busy lives, that still have the same modern day pressures, even though we live in Fiji. So I think it's something that everybody can benefit from.
I love that you offer yoga to a wide range of people, because a lot of the time you walk into a yoga class and it's 95% female or 100% female, attendees. You really focus on spreading yoga to not only women, but corporates, men, children, people with disabilities, anyone. You're very sort of inclusive with your teaching.
I think that's really important, because that's one of the main reasons why there's a barrier to people trying yoga, because they think, I'm not fit enough, or I need to lose a bit of weight first, or I'm not flexible enough, a favourite one. But it's true. I've taught yoga to, even in the resorts, I remember there was a couple, and they were probably in their, 70s, or late 70s, and the husband had an oxygen cannula, an oxygen tank in a in a trolley behind him, and he came and joined in the class, and stood up and did the postures. And I said, look, just sit down and do the postures seated, and it is challenging as a teacher to adapt that, but making people feel welcome. And I try and offer a range of different classes in different locations, so that, we have men's yoga. There's a lot of men who might have sporting injuries or lower back injuries, knee surgery, things like that, and they don't feel confident going to the yoga session at the gym, which might be a bit more physical or faster flowing. So I really like being able to offer, or trying the best that I can do to offer yoga for people at different levels and at different times.
Yeah, the benefits are incredible. I want to talk about how you've brought the benefits and what you've learnt with your yoga into your parenting, because you have two little girls.
Yes.
I've started to get to know one of them, and she is just a firecracker. Like, this child, honestly, I watched her yesterday spend time on her own without any other kids around, and just completely entertained herself and was so comfortable in her own skin. How old is she?
She's 6.
She's 6, and she owns a room.
She does.
You also own a room, so she's obviously gotten that from you. But do you bring the benefits
She definitely
of
takes things to the next level.
Does she?
I don't even know her something.
I mean, I watched her. She was so entertained with her own company that I was thinking about my children, and they need friends around, or they need entertainment, or they need something to do, and it's so common with a lot of us. I mean, we're all guilty of that in some way. How have you taught her to just enjoy her own company so much?
Well, I guess a lot of, like most people with kids will say, a lot of it's luck, first of all. So, I mean, obviously she was born with this amazing personality, and she was like that from the day that she was born. She was just so full on. And I think having, it would have been close to 10 years of yoga practice before I had Anna. I sometimes joke and say, that 10 years of yoga practice mentally prepared me for
having
being
her.
a parent. And I was a single mother as well with Anna from when she was about 6 weeks old through to when I met my partner now, Adrian, when she was about 3. And that was probably the most challenging time as well because, she was just so full of energy, but in a positive way. She was never destructive or difficult. She just was full of life and excited about life. And I guess one of the challenges would have been if I was in Australia or another country is that you feel like you have to tell them to be quiet or sit still so I really enjoyed being here in Fiji, and they're outdoors. It's the big second run around and run around bare feet and climb up the trees and play with other kids. I mean, I guess that happens in a lot of other countries, but I enjoyed being able to provide that for her here. And conscious parenting, it all ties into your own self-awareness, your own ability to self-reflect on how you're parenting your children. But I think parenting kids, and I'm sure quite a lot of people would say this, is a reflection of how you tackle your own challenges, your own personal challenges as well, how you see yourself. The more you have enough courage and bravery to tackle your own personal issues so that you can find peace and a solid grounding, the easier it will be to be a good parent to your children as well. So that's one of another, I guess, passion of mine, and why I really love encouraging people not just to practice yoga, but to try anything that will help develop their self-awareness, that ability. And I guess some people don't understand or might not be able to put self-awareness into terms of being able to understand it. But basically, it's our ability to be able to reflect on how we're thinking or how we're reacting to things, whether we react out of anger or out of fear, or just out of habit, out of pattern, out of something we might have learned or, from our childhood or even in our adulthood. So, it's constant reflection and just letting her be the person that she is and not teaching them to fear as well. So, I never tell her that don't do that, you'll fall, because then you're telling them they're going to fail or they're going to fall. So, if she climbs things, I'm like, okay, well, I'll be here, and if you get stuck, I'll help you get down. But she climbs things and she doesn't fall and she doesn't fear things. And she's brave when she goes and talks to people. And even I'm still amazed at the person that she is. She amazes me every day.
That's pretty much the opposite of how my parents were. They were like, you're going to hurt yourself. Don't do that. So I actually grew up scared of a lot of things because of that reason, because I always thought that I was going to hurt myself. Yeah. And you talked about sort of cycles before, and I'm making a conscious effort not to put my kids in that fear cycle as well, because it's so easy to just pick up those traits that we've learned in our own lives and in our own childhoods to bring them into our parenting as well. Yeah. And I'm very conscious of allowing them to make their own mistakes. Yeah. If they get hurt, like you said, we'll be there.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, we talked about this before we hit record, but you've got a banned word in your house, and that's bored. The kids aren't allowed to say they're bored.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of my parenting comes from my parents as well. So my sister and I are a product of teachers. My dad was a primary school teacher and my mum was a high school teacher. So, of course, they had some lovely insight into parenting and I guess being a role model and sculpting the lives of children. So, yes, and some of it was from my grandmother as well. We weren't allowed to use the word hate. We said that's a very strong word. You don't use that about anything, about food, about people, about how you feel. Not allowed to say the word bored. We were told if we said the word bored, that meant you had a lack of imagination. And yeah, so we grew up without having a TV, or we did have a very small TV. It lived in the cupboard, in the coat cupboard, and it came out on Saturday nights for 1 hour to watch. I can't remember. It was like, hey, it's Saturday or the Bill or something. And our parents just said, oh, you just have to use your imagination. We didn't have a lot of, they didn't, buy heaps of toys and things like that. And I try and do that with, I did try and buy toys for Anna, but she doesn't play with them anyway. She just runs out and wants to talk to people and be outside. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's intuitive, and every child's personality is so different as well. And it's tuning into that more and letting them be the person and supporting them and encouraging them rather than worrying about the pressures of what other people think or what a society might expect of them. I mean, obviously they have to conform to the the baseline of society to be able to fit in, but not to a point where it's squashing their personality or
just doing it because everyone's doing it.
Yeah. It's so easy for us to say, and I'm it's not I never judge people or say that something's wrong or right. I mean, so many of us say, don't fall or you're going to hurt yourself or get down from there. But, they're learning to climb. So I said, okay, we'll let them climb and I'll just stand here and see if, if they can balance on it. If they fall off, I'll catch them.
I mean, comments like that from parents, it's done out of love, obviously.
Yeah, they're trying to protect them.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can see why so many of us want to protect our children and why we say things like that. So the awareness is there for these kids. But you're right, it only instills fear into them and they take that throughout their lives. So not having a television, not having the tech and all of that as a child, did you ever feel like you were missing out?
No, I never did. And I am starting to wonder about it now as my daughter gets older, and I often ask my parents and I say, how, I was never, we weren't allowed sleepovers. We didn't have this, Barbies or toys, and we didn't have many things, and we never ate. I didn't have McDonald's till I was like, 21 or something like that.
Not a bad thing.
We always just had, but I never heard my parents saying no, we couldn't have things. They just went around there, and we always had other things that we could do. I guess we're always busy doing other things, and I did know that other kids' lives were different, and everybody's lives were different, but it never bothered me. Yeah.
I love that so much. What were your biggest lessons personally in 2020?
2020 was a really big year for us in many ways. We just bought our first house. Everything just kind of manifested and happened, and we managed to get a house in Denarau, which we didn't think we would be able to, and it all just happened. And also we had Kalani, which is our youngest. She was born, and we just came back and got settled in, and then COVID happened, and my husband works in tourism as well, so we were both at home for a period of time where they had the lockdowns. So it was a challenging year for me. I feel like for tourism and obviously for yoga, I mean, as much as we did a little bit of that online, but a lot of it's taken a backseat because I also kind of channeled my energy then into supporting the kids and the family through what's quite a turbulent period. But at the same time, we had this amazing opportunity to spend time with our kids and to learn about homeschooling. And I think it's been really amazing for a lot of fathers as well to be at home. And, Adrian had all this time with Kalani that he would have never, he was there every day with them doing all the day-to-day routines that they would have never got to have that amount of time. So like most people, I think they've learned a lot from, to make the most of the time, whatever. And that's what I've learned from the various challenges and journeys that I've had in my own life so far is that no matter what happens, there's always something that you can do to utilize your time and your energy. It's not about your surroundings or the material things that you have. You don't need, you don't even need money as much as we need to survive. But it's amazing, even I'm sure in the last year, most of us are amazed at what we've managed to get by with. And at the same time, we can use that energy to learn new things or create bonds with other people or tackle challenges that we might not have had the time to normally if we'd had a very busy work life. So I think it's just been a really good opportunity, even though I know a lot of people are saying, oh, thank goodness it's over. And
it's far from over
yeah.
from a lot of places around the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here Fiji's in a good position at the moment, but anything can change. We just don't know what to expect at the moment. So I think right now everyone's in a really good position. We're obviously still waiting for tourism to open up again, and people are still affected in financial ways. But that fear has sort of gone a little bit more than
dissipated. A bit,
yeah, exactly right. I think human connection is probably one of the biggest, most important elements in our life, and that is probably what was heightened in the COVID period and in the lockdowns.
Yes. Yeah.
And the connection within ourselves was strengthened. Do you believe that as well?
Yeah, I think so, and that's a really important aspect, I guess, that for me personally I've discovered through my journey with yoga as well, is that having that time and that space to be friends with yourself. I know it sounds a bit, wishy-washy, but not judging ourselves or not being hard on ourselves, but actually being kind to ourselves. And it's like we're always talking back to ourselves and almost like being our own coach and telling ourselves that it's okay. And despite all of the different situations I've been through in my own life, and even from being in a foreign country and being a single mother, and even in the last year, being away from, for many of us who are expats as well, being away from our family and parents and grandparents, it's very easy to feel lonely. And as much as I miss my family, but if you have that connection with yourself and if you have that nice solid grounding and you feel peace and contentment, you never feel lonely and you never feel lost. There's always that strength that you can come back to. And I think hopefully that some people found that in the last year, or if they didn't, maybe it intensified I guess the situations around them and brought them to highlighting challenges in their life that they do want to tackle. And hopefully this year might be the year that they have the strength and the time to tackle those challenges. And I love supporting people to be brave and have courage. And it's so easy for us to just brush things off and say, oh no, I don't have time for that, or I'm fine, or I'm busy with work. But really it takes a lot of courage and bravery for us to tackle, whether it's, personal challenges that we have, or mindsets, or fixed mindsets that are limiting us and stopping us from achieving what we really want to do, or letting us be happy and live our full life. And hopefully that last year gave us the space to hopefully make changes for this year.
Let's hope so. So what are you most proud of in your life?
I guess, of course, I'm so proud of my children, as in Anna and now Kalani, and I'm also really proud of my wonderful partner, Adrian, who still amazes me every day with his own resilience and adaptability. And from being on my own and being a single mother, I became intolerant, I guess, in a way of I didn't want to be with someone just for the sake of it. I wanted to be with somebody who did have amazing self-awareness, who could reflect and actually question themselves and grow and improve. And he is the embodiment of that person. So I'm always really proud of him, and he's adapted, and we've gotten through the last year, and I'm really proud of us as a family for doing that. I'm proud of the work that I've done for myself because the work that you do for yourself then benefits the people around you, your children, your friends, your family, even the people you just come into contact. It might just be for an hour that you might meet while you're traveling or in passing. But I really feel like that's what I've dedicated a lot of my energy to, particularly in the last 5 or 10 years, into trying to tackle all of those edges of myself to try and make myself the most well-rounded person that I can be. And I feel proud of that.
You should be. It's amazing. What would you say your life purpose is? I know a lot of us just search our whole lives to find what their life purpose is. Do you think you've found it in yoga and in motherhood and in the way that you interact with people every day?
Well, last you gave me plenty of time to think about that.
Good.
But I feel like, I guess our life purpose is what we continually are drawn to, what makes us feel fulfilled, it's like an exchange of energy. We feel fulfilled and feel happy doing it, and we notice that other people feed off that and feel more positive. So I guess for me, I feel like my life purpose and the things that I keep getting drawn back to are connecting people. So I love meeting people a bit similar to yourself, and fortunately yoga and also doing consulting work for business development allowed me to create this amazing network. I get to meet all these interesting people, and I love talking to them and asking what their passions are and what drives them, and then introducing the people, creating connections. And I really love doing that and seeing people then grow their own lives or passions or whatever it is that they're following. And that's what I'm most passionate about, and that's what I love being a part of, and hopefully I can continue to be a part of that through both aspects of work, through yoga and through business development.
So if you had the whole world listening, I love asking this question, and it's like the biggest question anyone will ever get asked. If you had the whole world listening, what message would you leave?
What message would I leave? To have the bravery to tackle the things that you know might be hidden under layers, or that you've put off, or that you feel limited by. Some people live their whole lives and never get to it and have regrets at the end of their lives. So even though you might be fearful of it, or even though you might think you don't know how to tackle it, or you don't know what will happen on the other side of it, I would just say for people just to start somewhere, and find what other pathway. I mean, yoga was obviously a big pathway for me, but there's so many different aspects that align for different people, and for people just to start exploring and do something outside of your comfort zone and challenge yourself, and go to something new, meet someone new, listen to something new, and try and tackle those aspects of your life that might be a little bit hidden and you're putting it aside for later.
I love that. Change for me is so exciting. I love change. A lot of people are so fearful of change. But for me, change is like, when I look at someone who's unhappy or struggling or stuck, I instantly want to help them shift that. I instantly want to help them change. And like you said, the first step is the hardest step. The first step to change is the hardest step. But after that, it just seems to roll. If it's the right thing, it seems to roll. So I think that's beautiful life advice. Thank you for sharing your beautiful, genuine, authentic nature with us today. I'm sure a lot of people listening have got something out of it and have shared and resonated with many experiences that you have. And it's been a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you for listening to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Let us know what you thought of this episode, and if something profound came up for you that you want to share, let's talk about it. You can find me on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear, or on my personal page at Maritza_Barone. And if someone you know will benefit from something that was said in this show, make sure you share it with them too. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with what's next. And if you can spare a few seconds, please rate and review the show on iTunes, just so other people can find us more easily and quickly. And as always, my friends, be happy, be healthy, be conscious, and be kind.